Hi, folks. Jeff Dunetz here. Yep, it's my third straight week, but Mark had to do something very important today. He was asked to advise on the Biden committee, so he's giving them advice. So I think he'll be back next week, and I'll be answering questions instead of asking questions. But this week we have a really special guest, and it's one my wife's been asking for all year. I'm the special guest. So I'm just going to talk about what's been going on and give you reasons. And if you don't like them, you could complain to Mark next week. Anyway, this has been a very weird week. Yesterday, I spent 6 hours watching the committee hearings, and I only fell asleep after 4 of them. We have the whistleblowers testify. The first one was whistleblower X named Joseph Ziegler. Now, I haven't heard for sure, but for you Marvel fans, I understand he has no relationship to Professor X. I don't know, but it might be true. He has hair, so I don't think so. Then you have Gary Ziegler, who is Joseph. Oh, excuse me. You have Gary Shapley, who is Ziegler's boss, but we didn't know who Ziegler is, and he didn't know who Ziegler was until yesterday. I want to clear up some stuff. The Democrats kept saying, well, why didn't you listen to the lawyers? Let me explain. Okay, the U.S. attorney, they were the ones who rejected it. They work for Merrick Garland, okay? They're only in an advisory position, okay? Then there's IRS attorneys, okay? They have the real power. They accepted the recommendations, and they were for it the whole time. So when they say, well, you didn't listen to the lawyer, they listened to the lawyers. The lawyers agreed, okay? But they were misleading you who watched it. The federal government, they kind of slow walked everything. That's why everything took a long time. That's why it took 5 years. That's a long time. Excuse me. And it started before Biden was president. Okay. So all these talk about being, one party or the other. It really was bilateral. Okay. Now, Shapley said Hunter didn't pay taxes on 10 million. Ziegler said he didn't pay taxes on 17 million. I don't know which one is right, but that's a lot of money. Okay. You got to think, the taxes itself is 40%. I'll take that, So really they stole from you and me, okay, by not paying their taxes, especially when it's that much. If you watched the hearings the way I did, the questions are so weird. The GOP questions, there were some questions to understand the changes. The Democrats' questions were weird. They made speeches. The speeches were everything wrong in the world Trump did. The history of African Americans, Rudy Giuliani, and then they started again. Everything wrong in the world Trump did, and it was ad nauseum. It's kind of made me sick. Okay, I wish that somebody would kind of talk about the truth. The other thing I wish is after one of the speeches, I would have loved to see one of the people being asked questions to say, "Is that a question? Do you want to know something, or why aren't you just asking a question when you're supposed to?" That thing could have been was 6 hours long. It could have been 3 hours long if the Democrats asked questions instead of making speeches. We all like to make speeches. I'm doing one now. But when it's in Congress, they should ask questions. It makes me crazy. They didn't ask any questions about what the whistleblowers said. Do they believe what they said? Okay. well, what about this? What about that? You know, what they said and trying to understand it. They didn't worry about the truth. Like I said, they only worried about Giuliani, history of African Americans, Trump, because he did everything bad in the world. And the thing is that, let's face it, Trump's running for president, and the Democrats are trying to make sure that he doesn't get anything. You know, and whether you're from Trump or not, you should be beating up on your congressman if he or she is a Democrat, because face it, they ruin the chance to learn more, and that's what the hearings are for. Either that or to give the AV people for the Congress some extra money, because it's the only one who had a successful day. You know, and I would get on your Democratic rep now, but I got to tell you something. When there's a Republican president, okay, it's the Republicans making the same big speech instead of asking questions. So, you know, I would just beat up on your congressman. Maybe if you get one group to stop, the other group will stop. Okay. Today, Robert Kennedy Jr. testified. Now, I got to be honest, I didn't watch it, okay, because after yesterday, I was kind of nauseous, okay. But if you look at it last weekend, he said COVID was made to so Chinese and Ashkenazi Jews wouldn't get sick from COVID. Ashkenazi Jews are people whose lineage is from the Western world. Then you have Sephardi's who are from the South, the Hispanic, and the Eastern blocks. Now, think about it for a second. It kind of makes sense if you have the Ashkenazi Jews and the Chinese together, because we all know the Ashkenazi Jews have Chinese food on Christmas. But I don't think that's what they meant. Okay. Kennedy is a conspiracy theorist. I don't care what he says. Conspiracy theorist, and he's a vaccine skeptic. Okay. Now, I don't mind people thinking that this or that vaccine was wrong. I have a problem with the COVID vaccine, to be honest, because we were told it would stop the disease, and it didn't stop the disease, because after I had all my pokes, I got COVID. My wife had all the pokes. She got COVID. My son-in-law got COVID. So everybody I know that had all the shots got COVID. So I don't believe COVID vax was effective. But, for example, in June, he announced, and later, a couple of days later, said, no, I didn't mean that. He announced that he had conversations with dead people. Now, if you remember the Bruce Willis movie, I see dead people. Well, maybe that was what he meant, but he didn't do that. And that's one of the weird things about him. He had conversation with dead people. Okay. I had conversations with stupid people all the time, but not dead people. He claims that the children's MMR vaccine caused a higher rate of autism. Baloney. Okay. And if you think so, email me. Go to yidblog.com, and there's a button where you can email me, because I'll send you all the evidence. What happened with the MMR vaccine is some doctor, okay, did a study, okay, and it was proven fraudulent, okay, not even incorrect, but they think that he definitely made it on purpose. Maybe he didn't have the numbers right and fixed them, or he definitely wanted to show what he wanted to show. Okay. Now, this guy lost his he apparently he skipped the negative info. He only used the positive info to make his research paper. When it was proven to be false, Okay, they had to withdraw the paper, and the guy who wrote the study, Dr. Andrew Wakefield, lost his medical license because he said things that hurt people, and he wasn't allowed near any medical building. It's sort of like you know child predators aren't allowed near kids. Well, he wasn't allowed near medicine because he was a medical predator. Okay. Along with MMR, okay, our friend John F. Kennedy Jr. falsely suggested that millions of deaths of the great influenza, was the one they talked about 1918, that it was 100 years before COVID, that he said it was attributed to vaccine experiments. They weren't doing that kind of vaccine experiments. They didn't know how. Okay. Again, when you hear something from John F. Kennedy Jr., it's baloney. And the interesting thing is, I was a big fan of his father. His father was a senator from New York. He was a Democrat, but he had a lot of Republican positions. One of the best Republicans we've ever had as a president is John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy cut taxes. And he was the first one to say, if you cut taxes, business is going to get better. And that's what he did. He cut back taxes a lot, and they did get better. Now, just last thing about Kennedy. He's also said that Wi-Fi causes cancer and leaky brain. I don't know what he means by leaky brain, but I try to go like this, and nothing came out. And I'm on Wi-Fi all the time. I'm on Wi-Fi right now. Okay. He told the podcaster Joe Rogan last month that antidepressants are the blame for school shootings. Wait a second. If it calms people down and makes them less depressed, they're going to go out and shoot people. Maybe it's good if people are a little riled up, because either that or Kennedy is stupid, which I happen to believe. He had a Twitter interview with Musk and said the chemicals in the water supply is what turns kids into transgender. Yeah, I haven't read the medical. If anybody's read the medical papers on it, please send me, because I just thought he was being stupid. Again, he told right-wing Canadian psychologist Jordan Peterson that AIDS may not be caused by HIV. Then what's it caused by? He never said. Every doctor who's examined AIDS, even Fauci, which I don't place much stock in, said that AIDS is caused by HIV. But, the wonderful RFK Jr. says it isn't. So when you hear a speech or listen to a claim by RFK Jr., I think Biden is one of the worst presidents in my lifetime. But if you're a Democrat and you want to vote Democrat, first of all, think about Republican, and I don't care who you think about. But if you're thinking between RFK Jr. and Biden, go with Biden. Well, it depends. Because if Biden has Kamala as his VP, then we're screwed either way, because you don't want Kamala a heartbeat away from president. So either way, okay, I think you should go with the Republicans. And this isn't a campaign thing. This is just logic. The other day, you might have heard this. A U.S. soldier named Travis King is in North Korean custody. Now, Private First Class King, which was where he was told to go on a ship go home, because he's going home after being in prison and spent 50 days in a detention facility. We don't know if it's a Korean one or a military one. That hasn't been posted. When he got out of detention, the first thing he did, he was told to get on the ship and head home for more punishment, possibly even to be discharged. Instead, he kind of went towards the ship and then took a tour near the joint security area. When he reached Panmunjom, the only place border where North Korea and South Korea they interact. You might remember 3 or 4 years ago when Trump crossed the border and shook hands with the dude with with a bad haircut who runs North Korea. That's where he went. Except he started running across. He took off and ran across the border and kept running. And he was supposedly, because we don't know for sure, arrested by the North Koreans. Now, should we make a trade to get him out? I don't know. What would you do if a Mexican started running into Texas? Okay, we'd arrest him to throw him back home. But we'd arrest him. What do we want to do with this guy? Do we do a trade? Do a trade where we give him someone who is a criminal, who is a danger to the United States, and trade him for Travis King, who's a danger to the United States? They don't even know if he's a spy or not. Okay, so think about that when you see the news reports. Speaking about the news reports, that Gilgo Beach serial killer, it's about 5 miles away from my house. And when I was growing up, we went to the beach behind it every Saturday, okay, to go to the beach. And it's really scary that this guy is so close to my house and was so close to where I went. And there was actually a bar that I used to go to when I was 18, and that's what the legal limit was then, with friends. That was called the Oak Beach Inn, and it was right there. This is scary. And the guy looks like the Hulk. He's big, strong, and has a square face. Scary. And this guy should be in prison for a very, very long time. Okay. If you live in the South, you know that, baby, it's hot outside. Okay. That's why I have this behind me. Okay. It's extreme heat all through the South. It's been going on for 39 days so far. They're talking about maybe it lasting until August. Okay, so the key thing is, and I said this before, drink a lot of water. And if you think you've drank enough, drink more. Okay, and stay inside, because that's the way you don't get heat stroke. So really, it's really hard, but you got to drink more than you think is enough. Okay, because you want to stay healthy. Okay, right now it has no sign of stopping. Some meteorologists say, it's going to be another week. Others say it could last until August, which is only 2 weeks. But there's no sign of stopping. And it's not a regular heat wave. Heat waves usually are a week or two. And 90 degrees, maybe 100 degrees. But this is like, depending on where you are, it's 105, 120. It's crazy. It's too much. And I feel empathy for my friends in the South. I have one of my closest friends. I don't know if you know him, Ed Morrissey of Hot Air, lives in Texas. And I'm worried about him, but I know he's smart enough to have water. He better be. Well, he will, because his wife is smarter than he is. That's why we get along, because my wife is much smarter than I am. Okay, here's a funny thing that kind of goes along with it. According to the UPI, the Biden administration announced plans to continue its reduction of hydrofluorocarbons. Carbons. And if you can say that fast, I'd love to hear it. Okay. But If you're looking for what runs air conditioners, it's those hydrofluorocarbons. Okay, those that will mean you can't run air conditioners to make you comfortable or to fight if we have, God forbid, another heat wave like this year. Okay, so this is what the green agenda is doing to us. It's that, it's the cars. I understand in some places there's a buildup of cars where they haven't been sold. You know, that's another reason why you got to vote Biden out of office in 2 years. He's trying to change America into something we're not. And even if you believe and want to go towards green, you got to go slowly so it doesn't screw up the economy. It doesn't screw up our lives. But they don't care. They don't care. And that's what's scary. They don't listen to America. Okay. Here's a fun one. And if you live in Oregon, you probably know this already. You know, but before I go on, you should know, although my son graduated cum laude with a degree in advanced math, and I'm very proud of him. I hate math. Okay. The only reason why I passed trigonometry is some guys in Brooklyn at Solomon Schechter, which is a private school. They went in and they stole the answers from the principal's office. But that wasn't enough. They were kind of like marketing majors because they started selling it, and that's how they got caught. But thank God, because of that, the regents got canceled. So I didn't have to fail. You know, and my son tried to explain it to me now, and it was like, I don't understand. But now the loons at Oregon Department of Education, they believe math is racist. Why? Because it demands a kid to come up with the right answers. What other subject are you not supposed to come up with the right answers? But the thing is that if it was implemented, every game show on TV would be racist and probably shut down by the liberal executives. Personally, I wouldn't know what to do if they labeled Family Feud as racist and cancel the midnight version of the program, because that's the last thing I watch before I go to sleep. But this is what they said. White supremacy culture infiltrates math classrooms and everyday teacher actions. Coupled with the belief that underlying these actions, they perpetuate the educational harm on Blacks, Latinx, and multilingual students, denying them full access to the world of mathematics. First of all, every Latino that I've ever spoke to hates Latinx, but this is what the left is doing. The other thing is, 1 + 1 is going to be 2, whatever you do. Okay, 2 + 2 is going to be 4. That's not racist. I'm sorry. 2 + 2 is 4. You know, and when it gets to SOHCAHTOA and trigonometry, it might be hard, but it ain't racist. Okay, I found it hard, and I didn't say it was anti-Semitic. Okay, this is what's happening to our country. The leftists are saying that everything is racist, and if a right winger corrects them, then the right winger is racist. Okay, I wrote this 3 days ago, and I got emails telling me I'm a racist. Why? Because I believe 2 + 2 is 4. My son told me. He took, you know, he's an honorary. He's got honor graduate. Okay, he told me 2 + 2 is definitely 4. They're telling me it's racist, and because I pointed out that it was stupid for them to say it was racist, I'm racist. What do you know? I never knew I was racist. But what am I going to do? You know, I'll just put it in my pocket and learn from it. Actually, I once had, if you haven't heard of Media Matters, it's a Democratic run. They say they're a media watchdog. And I don't turn my computer on Saturdays because it's the Jewish Sabbath. And one day I turn my computer on after it's over, and I have 400 email messages. And I never get that many messages. And what happened is those were all my associates at Breitbart when I worked for Breitbart. And it was like 10 per associate. Apparently, a guy at Media Matters called me an anti-Semite. Now here I am. My Twitter name is Yid with Lid. I write about Jewish issues. I talk about Jewish issues and politics, of course. And I'm an anti-Semite. This is what the left is doing. Okay, everything you do is wrong. Now, those of you who are married know that everything you do is wrong, but I'm talking about the outside world telling you that. Okay, and we gotta put it off. We gotta fight back, and that's something you have to ask when you go to debates coming in a year and a half. When you have a chance to ask questions, ask that. What do you think of things like calling math racist, or the whole thing about school books? There's some school books with 3-year-olds or 3-year-olds, where first graders are reading about how sex is done. I didn't know that until I was 20. Okay, I was 18. But for a first grader, there are things beyond their capability. Okay, they're young. Let them do the young stuff. Sex is not young stuff. At least that's what I was always told. And you gotta understand that what they're doing is that they're trying to take away the normal norms of society. And I know a lot of norms, so but that's what they're doing, and you got to stick to it. If you believe that, and this isn't a Democratic or Republican thing, it's an American thing, because America was started with those type of things, that parents had a right to teach their kids and things like that. And they're saying parents have no right. Now, if you read the Communist Manifesto, it says parents have no right too. Now, I'm not saying the left is a bunch of communists, but there are things that they pulled from there. Now, another big issue this week is they found a thing of cocaine in the White House. Now, I got to tell you something. I once got a tour of the White House from someone who worked in the West Wing, okay? And he took me around the West Wing. And I promised that I didn't have cocaine in my pocket. I'm just telling you, okay? I had chocolate chip cookies, and they didn't find any chocolate chip cookies. But when you go into the White House, I got examined by 3 people, okay? 3 security people before I was allowed into the building, where I got examined by 1 more. There were video cameras all over the joint. If there was cocaine left in a bag, small bag, somewhere in the White House, I got to tell you, it has to be someone who either worked in the White House or lived in the White House. I'm not saying who it was, but I'm telling you, it had to be an outside person. It had to be an inside person, because outside persons are examined too many times. Okay. Excuse me. You know, again, this is one thing I wanted to bring up. If Joe Biden gets the nomination, and I got to tell you, I think he will, if he keeps running. By odds, he won't live through the term. I mean, he's very old. And if that happens, and he keeps Kamala Harris as his VP, something he said months ago, Kamala Harris would be our president. This is the woman who said, yeah, I'm going to fix the border. And the borders, more people come through the borders than ever. Then she was supposed to fix voting rights. And thank God she didn't touch voting rights. We're talking about someone who doesn't know what she's doing. Okay. She might have been a good lawyer, but she's a really lousy vice president. You know, and I'm looking at people like Mike Pence, okay? And Mike Pence ran the COVID committee. And whether it worked or not, he ran it wonderful as a manager. Okay. What has she done? Whenever she's talked to children, the children seem smarter than her. Okay. And I'm not making a joke. They do. Finally, if you watched The View yesterday, I don't know how many of you watched The View. Sometimes it's good for a laugh, not for real stuff. You know, this is part of ABC News, which is why I don't watch ABC News. But the crazies on ABC News said they wanted to see Trump hung like Mussolini. If you remember Mussolini after the war, or actually just near the end of the war, was kind of hung and just left there. I think he was hung by his feet, head down. Okay, and this is what the women of The View want. I don't care if you like Trump or you don't like Trump. He was the former president of the United States. Same thing with, hopefully, Biden in 2 years. You got to treat him with some respect. Okay, they ran this country, and whether they did good in your mind or bad in your mind, they deserve our respect. So, like I said, it's been a really weird week, and next week is going to be weirder. Okay, next week we're going to find out if they raise the interest rates. Okay, I'm hearing 25 basis points, and then there'll be another one in a month. I don't know for sure, but certainly the inflation hasn't stopped as much as they want to. And this is one thing that kills me, because Biden talks about inflation going down. He talks about gas prices going down. He's 100% right. But they're not going down from what Trump had. They're going down from the highs of his. Okay. So, yeah, they're going down. They're still not at a normal rate. So they're kind of like lying to us, which irks me more than anything. I can handle, you know what? I screwed up. This isn't working. I'm going to try something else. But I can't, or ignoring it. But what I can't stand is when they say, oh, it's getting better, when it's not. Okay. Or as Bush, as Biden does, everything is either Trump's fault or those evil MAGA Republicans. Now, what is a MAGA? They are people who believe on stabilizing the border, putting America first, and those kind of issues. Okay, I'm a conservative. I don't know totally what a MAGA is, but they don't know what it is either. Because I've asked politicians, what do you mean by MAGA? Duh. Okay. And when you see a politician talking about MAGA Republicans, ask them, please explain to me what that is. Because it can't be anybody who supports Trump. It has to be something. Okay. So that kind of irks me about what I think is the other side. With what really means, and all this stuff I talked about really means, is you got to ask questions. Okay, you can't believe you don't believe what I tell you. I tell my readers, if you think I'm wrong, please tell me. The difference is politicians, if you think they're wrong, they'll come up with an excuse. Okay, so ask your politicians questions, write them letters, call them, be considerate. Okay, because if you're nasty, you'll never get an answer. Be nice and ask for an answer. The more you ask, the more people that ask, how you get out, how you get them to change mind. A couple of years ago, Obama, excuse me, nominated a guy for one of the intelligence positions. He was crazy. He had a lot of crazy ideas, and my favorite was that the Muslims discovered America before Christopher Columbus. Okay. And I started writing a campaign to my congressman, and I had people do it to their congressman. And somebody got it to, believe it or not, Nancy Pelosi. And one of the things this idiot said was that the Chinese wasn't hard enough against protesters at Tiananmen Square. He killed people. And Pelosi had a lot of Chinese people in her office, in her district. And she went to Obama and got him fired. So you got to write letters. And if you write a lot of letters, you might get something done. But anyway, remember the football season is starting soon. And like I always say, when I die, I want the Jets to be my pallbearers so they can put me down one more time. But everybody should have a wonderful week and pray for those people in the South that the heat wave stops. And if you're in the South, have water. And if you think you've had enough water, double it. Okay, because the lack of water will make you sink. Thank you, everybody, and I'll see you next week.